everybody, Tom Vasel here, and today we're going through another video on our best of publishers list, and we're talking about Eagle-Gryphon Games. Now I'm splitting this list up into two parts because Eagle-Gryphon Games has done so many games, that I'm going to split it into their larger box games and their smaller box ones. This is the first video we'll be talking about their larger box games. Now Eagle came out many years ago, over a decade ago, and they started with these larger box games, with games that were full of plastic miniatures. They looked like Axis and Allies and Fortress America type games, the Game Master games, Attack and the Civil War and War, Age of Imperialism. It was like, wow, these games look really neat. But they were kind of derided by heavier gamers because they were really neat, full of pieces, but they were not that complex of games. And they also had some flaws to them, even ones that looked really pretty, like Age of Mythology was a cool looking game, but the rules just were not as good as possible, and none of these games have really aged well. Eagle Games did not do that well, and eventually they went into bankruptcy. They were sold off, and folks from Fun Again Games bought them, and they started, while they were there, they started spinning off the games into different lines. Eventually, Eagle became separate from Fun Again Games, and so they had another spin-off company called Gryphon Games, which was making their smaller version games. This caused some confusion. Was it an Eagle game or a Gryphon game? Until a few years ago, they said, whatever, we're just Eagle-Gryphon, and put the games together. Now, over the years, Eagle has brought some great games to the United States from other companies, but they've also have a lot of really great classic games, even amongst their smaller games, which is the next list. But these are my 10 favorite games of theirs from the big box side of things. So number 10 is Triassic Terror. Now this is a dinosaur themed game. I really like this one. Area control, having different dinosaurs in areas. You have a species of dinosaurs and you're there, and there's T-Rexes and raptors and a pterodactyl flying around. It's a pretty mean and nasty area control game, but I don't mind that. It really works. The theme works. You're trying to figure out the right places to be, which spots are the best places to go. The dinosaur theme on top of it just, it's great, and it's not really talked about a lot, and if you ever get a chance, give it a whirl. Number 9, I'm going to put Through the Ages on here. Now, I know Through the Ages is a great game, and I talk about it more on CGE, who has the license for it now. And the reason it's at 9 because the Eagle-Gryphon version of it, they brought it first, was the production values needed a lot of help. But it is still Sid Meier's Civilization as a board game. It really is. It is a lot of fun. I think it's best with 2 players. It's all cards. It doesn't seem like that should be a Civ game, but it works. Number 8 is a silly game that we play in every single one of our live marathons, and that is Tumbling Dice. In Tumbling Dice, you have some dice, and you are rolling them on this wooden device where they're going to fall down, and it's like shuffleboard. You don't want them to fall off, and wherever they land, that's how many points you get times the pips on the die. So there's luck as you roll the dice. You're trying to knock other people's dice off. Super silly game. Why would it not be on my list? Number 7 is Railways of the World, which was originally, was based on Age of Steam. And then it was made bigger and worked on by Glenn Drover with Martin Wallace, called Railroad Tycoon, using that property, which a lot of people knew, great computer game. And then they've lost that license, so now it's just called Railways of the World, although it's the same thing. It's a big, grandiose game with lots of cool plastic pieces, plastic trains. Each one has gotten progressively better. They've moved it around the world in different areas. The setting is, there's different games for Europe and Great Britain, etc. But it's still a pretty solid game. Build tracks, move cubes from one spot to the other. It looks big and daunting, but it's not. It's easy to jump into. That is Railways of the World. Number 6 is Bootleggers. Now, Bootleggers is a theme about the Prohibition, and you are, well, not obeying anyone and making your own booze and your own stills and selling it at speakeasies and such. And it is a mean and nasty game, it is an area control game to some degree, where you're trying to get this booze made, this moonshine, and you want to have the most of it at different spots. So you're fighting for area control, you're calling the police on each other. There's really cool plastic trucks and things that come with the game as you're trying to guard your shipment from other people getting it. And it's really thematic. I really enjoy it. Bootleggers. Number 5 is Carson City. Now, Carson City, currently the best version of it, is from Quinted Games, but The first version that came to America was from Eagle-Gryphon, and I really loved it. This is the West brought into a box, essentially. We're talking everything from homesteading to gunslinger duels, but that's just kind of the thematic trappings. It's really based on a solid area control game. As you're putting workers out and slowly watching the town that you all have buildings and build, and maybe you can rob someone else's bank, but at the same time you want that bank to be built. Having a mine and getting money, and there's multiple ways to win. And different characters that you're controlling who will give you special abilities. A very lovely, wonderful game, Carson City. Number 4 is Francis Drake. Sir Francis Drake, this is a game that has 2 distinct halves to each round. In one half, you are sending your people to the market to buy the stuff you need, whether it's cannonballs or sails or goods, and you can move as far as you want in the market, and you want to grab good stuff. But if you move too fast, you will miss other things. If you move slower to get things, you may not get what you want later on. That's a good mechanism. It works really well. In the second half, you're going to send out your ships and attack different areas, fight pirates and do what you can, or be a pirate, I guess, to some degree. Really great game by the same designer, Peter Halls, as Triassic Terror, also on my list, Francis Drake. Number 3 is Baseball Highlights 2045. This is a deck-building game of sorts about baseball in the future from Mike Fitzgerald. Now, a lot of people have not played this game because they don't like baseball, which, first of all, that saddens me because baseball is a great sport. But even if you don't like baseball, you can still like this game because it's all about getting the right cards in your hand and playing them at the right time. It takes baseball and shrinks baseball down into a very short time. Your games are very quick, but it's how you deal with the win of a game and get players for the future game that make this so much fun. There are so many expansions out for it. There is so much diversity. A fantastic game. Baseball Highlights 2045. Number 2 for me is Defenders of the Realm. Defenders of the Realm, when I first played it, felt a little like Pandemic, except I thought it was way more fun. In this game, you are some defenders, some heroic defenders in a fantasy realm, and there are 4 major forces marching on your kingdom. You know, there's orcs are coming in and demons are coming in, and you have to fight them off. And so you're running around the board fighting them off, but there's also one big mega bad boss who's marching in, and you got to take out those mega bad bosses to win. And each one you take makes the other mega bad bosses more difficult. One of them's a dragon, one of them's a demon lord, or what have you. Really entertaining. Each person has a very distinctive special ability. The pieces are great. I love it. A very fun cooperative game, Defenders of the Realm. And number 1 is Empire's Age of Discovery. Now, I mentioned at the very beginning of this video that when Eagle first burst on the scene, they were making big boxes full of plastic pieces, but the rules were not that great. And when Empire's Age of Discovery came out, or Age of Empires was first called, we were like, okay, it's another one of those games. But it wasn't. This was a great worker placement game, one of my favorite, where you're placing workers onto a board, giving you special abilities, and then those workers, many of them are getting sent to the new world, to different areas there, and having the most in any area is going to give you control of that area. Some of the workers have special abilities, you got missionaries, you got captains, each of them do different things. This game consistently is reprinted with a very fun little expansion that's been added to it. Every time I play this, I have a fantastic time. They made a space version, which I felt was not nearly as good, but the regular game itself, Age of Empires, really enjoy that. Empire's Age of Discovery is actually what it's called. Now, there's Eagle-Gryphon Games. There's a lot of great games I didn't mention on my list. I should give a small shout out. Eagle-Gryphon at one point got the license to all the Sid Saxon games, so they made some great ones that didn't make my top 10, but there's Can't Stop and I'm the Boss and things like that. They made many of those over the years, and I appreciate that they brought those back too. They've also done some great small games, so check out my companion list. It will come out in a few days to this. But these are my favorite big box games from Eagle-Gryphon Games. What are yours? Tell me in the comments. Until next time, I'm Tom Vasel, and you've been watching Best of Publishers, Eagle-Gryphon, Big Games.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at Dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at Dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at CoolStuffInc.com.